14 people from Texas and New Mexico have been indicted by a federal grand jury for their involvement in a large-scale oil theft conspiracy.
They're accused of running a large-scale crude oil theft ring in the Permian Basin. Federal prosecutors say the group stole oil from well sites in eastern New Mexico, then moved it across the New Mexico-Texas line and sold it at a discount price for profit.
One of the men is from Seminole. If convicted, each defendant faces up to 5 years in federal prison on the conspiracy charge and up to 10 years on each additional count of transporting or selling stolen oil.